Welcome back. ECOWAS explains sanction lift Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso. I have a report here on Punch, Nigeria, that was published on the 25th of February. I guess that's today or yesterday. The Economic Community of West African States says the decision to lift sanctions on Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso was based on the need to maintain regional unity and security. President of the ECOWAS Commission, Dr. Omar Touré, said this at the end of the extraordinary session of the heads of state and government of ECOWAS on Saturday in Abuja. He said that the authority took note of the period of Lent and the approaching month of Ramadan and the impact on citizens, adding that plea were also received from prominent leaders, including the retired General Yakubu Gowon. The authority takes note that the withdrawal will have political, social, socio-economic, financial, and institutional implications for the three countries as well as for ECOWAS as a region. The authority recalls that within the framework of regional cooperation against terrorism, violent extremism, and organized crime, the three countries benefited from about 100 million US dollars mobilized by UMR within the context of the ECOWAS plan of action against terrorism. Moreover, some funds allocation about 7.5 million US dollars is being made towards supporting the three countries in acquiring the equipment to help their fight against terrorism. The withdrawal will affect security cooperation in terms of sharing intelligence and participation in regional counterterrorism initiatives. So my question about this, when I see ECOWAS, when I see sanctions, what I hear is money, 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 uh, and how we
Money
can,
on my mind.
right, and how we can, I don't know what kind of policies can help these nations, because there are literally hundreds of millions of people dispersed all over this place, and their lives are being affected by all these decisions. What are your thoughts about this sanction lift? Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? What is it that we can
Well,
see?
too bad that, like in so many things, the leadership of ECOWAS, particularly the chairman of that sub-regional economic bloc. I mean, in case our people need to know, ECOWAS means Economic Community of West African States.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is a loose economic cooperation between almost 16 countries in West Africa. Some French speaking, or most of them French speaking, some English speaking. So you're talking of Francophone, that is French speaking, and Anglophone, English speaking countries within the West African sub-region.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, things were not given proper thought before pronouncements were made in respect of sanctions against the coupists in the military coupists in Niger Republic. And before that, there had been hot-headed military adventurers in Burkina Faso. And I think the third one should be Mali, right? These are,
Uh, Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
these are places that are replete with all kinds of weapons,
Mm-hmm.
illicit weapons. These are places that give impetus to certain misguided elements to take to terrorism and all forms of violent crimes. So, little wonder that extensive consultations should have been carried out by President Bola Tinubu, who chairmans the regional bloc presently,
Right,
before
presently.
Yeah, before sanctions were announced in a hurry. And I think what would be the concern for somebody like retired General Yakubu Gowon, who, with other people, uh, worked assiduously for the establishment of the ECOWAS in 1975, um, would be that the kind of cooperation, the kind of I can't really see unity amongst these nations and their leaders. I mean, that kind of background to whatever has played out lately must have informed that kind of high-level intervention from General Yakubu Gowon. But that said and done, you will remember we said Bola Tinubu did not think it through before putting his hand on the equivalent of nuclear button. That is the economic policy,
Right.
known as subsidy is gone. The day subsidy was gone, Nigeria's economy totaled. It tanked. Now, concerning the situation in the Niger Republic, as it also affected a place like Mali, a place like Burkina Faso, and lately, remember, in Guinea, right, and elsewhere, you see the way that people are now beginning to find military coup attractive again in Africa. But instead of thinking things through, instead of first making underground diplomatic consultations and contact with the coup leaders and using what Obasanjo would call carrot and stick approach, it just went full blast. And those people push it back on his face that, come, we are not your Nigerian schoolboys. And this is what they want. And when they started exposing the hypocrisy of the French government, especially in French-speaking African countries, everybody was taken aback that these people were only given paper and talk independence. In truth, they are still subjugated. How do you, begin to handle a situation in which these people produce all the uranium? They make all so much money, but it is always tied to one thing or the other in France, and such money cannot even be used to benefit the different countries that own these resources. Look at the number of universities that ought to be everywhere. Until you go to places like Togo, you go to places like the Republic of Benin, relatively has done well. But honestly, these are places, you are saying Nigeria is struggling with its economy and its politics. You need to go to those places before you know what is called the grinding poverty. Yes, go to Burkina Faso, go to everywhere. So these are the things that these people were questioning, they were pushing against. And people like Thomas Sankara had tried in the past to uplift the fortune of their people. But what did international conspiracy do? Frustrated and got them assassinated. The same thing with Patrice Lumumba in the Congo. And the situation in the Congo is still intractable to today. So that was what the situation, a worst case scenario that Niger would have precipitated. So I do not know what is contained in this speech, which is showing that we have now made a 360 degrees turn, or turn.
I mean, what we know.
Yeah, it's good for people to bite the humble pie sometimes. It is good. I hope the kind of unity that used to exist between the West African countries can still be worked out can still be restored. But I don't think we will ever get there anymore. We will always suspect each other now. But I mean, it's so unfortunate. They said Tinubu had done wonders in Lagos, but on national stage, international stage, is I mean, it's a totally different ball game.
At this
You
point in
know,
time, at this point,
I,
you know,
yes.
wait, I'm looking at
See,
this report, right? Let me say
Ola,
this to you.
listen. Ola, wait. At a colloquium in
Right.
Nigeria at the time, I think it was that for Professor Wole Soyinka. I saw uh, Mr. Bola Tinubu there then as the ex-governor of Lagos State. Uh, if Professor Dare Olatunji, the accomplished journalist and journalism teacher, is watching us, he can testify to this. I nearly asked them, Mr. Bola Tinubu, you have been fingered in installing uh, democratic governance all over, uh, I mean, in some West African countries, particularly Ghana, in case of Arthur John Mills. What is the need for you, sir? He answered me, and he will spread democracy. And if I accuse him of bankrolling all these things, and that he does not mind rolling out the money from the banks until everybody has democracy. When he finished answering me, he punched my chest. This is what Bola Tinubu did to me that day in Lagos at Amazon Center. Why I'm saying this is that beyond sponsoring and installing democratic government, you see why I mentioned Dr. Olatunji Dare or Professor Olatunji Dare, as the case may be.
Yeah, let's round this one up, okay?
Even as I felt that I mean I felt violated by Mr. Bola Tinubu. Dr. Olatunji Dare was the person who held my hand and reassured me that he did not mean to be violent and that I should just let
Really?
it go. Yes, that happened in Lagos during one of my visits to Nigeria. So, this was more than 10 years ago, by the way. So, to save time, Bola Tinubu is learning on the job. And there are so many things for him to learn that it is not just enough for you to be able to bankroll the
I
coming
mean,
into office of anybody.
that's not sustainable. Um,
Yes.
Let me read
So
this
this
to
is
you,
it.
and then we
All
can
right.
round out this session, right? He said this report about this lifting sanction said not lifting the sanction would result in the halt or the suspension of all ECOWAS projects and programs worth more than 500 million US dollars. Toure said that the projects collectively valued at approximately 321.6 million US dollars. The bottom line is there's a lot. I mean, like you were saying, just coming into office and just putting, I feel like that's just,
Not thinking things through
yeah, not
before,
thinking things through.
yeah,
Yeah,
taking action.
yeah.
It, yeah, there is something to that. And the volume of trade going on between all these 16 ECOWAS countries is appallingly small. Between Nigeria and Niger Republic, I don't think the volume of trade instead, I mean, in spite of being neighbors and having commonality of what's it called, certain cultural heritage and what have you, is even I doubt if it's up to $6 million a month. So,
Yeah.
yeah. See,
All right.
we will revisit this. We will
Yeah, we
revisit
will.
this
We
issue
will.
of ECOWAS
Yeah,
because
but today we're
I
going to talk about money more
investigated
sharp.
them extensively in the past, and I found out that it's more of a hoax and fiasco rather than satisfying the yearnings and the aspirations of all of us as West African citizens.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anyway, do us a favor, hit that like button, share, subscribe, follow, turn up your notifications so you are notified whenever we go live. We'll be back in 20 seconds.